Okay, so this video is for paper 1 question 4, and here's an example of what the questions might look like. And in this question you're asked to evaluate. Here's the key skill they're asking you to do. So let's just have a quick look at the question. We're going to use the Great Expectations extract again, as I have done for all these videos. So the question says, focus this part of your answer from paragraph 4 to the end of the extract. So you need to sort of be aware of what parts of the text you're looking at, because often they'll ask you to look at a particular bit. A student having read this part of the text said, the writer makes you feel sorry for the old woman, Miss Havisham. Okay, so I've highlighted that because it's important, because you need to make sure that everything you write for this answer links back to this idea of how the writer is making you feel sorry for the old woman. It says to what extent do you agree, but really you don't need that. You are going to agree that the writer makes you feel sorry for Miss Havisham. Okay, so in your response you should write about your own impressions of the old woman, Miss Havisham. Evaluate how the writer arouses our sympathy for her. So sympathy is another way of saying feeling sorry for her. Arouses is a word that says how does it make you. And then that keyword evaluate, I'll go back to that in a second. And as always, support your opinions with quotations from the text. Now for this question you have 20 marks available, and that means you will probably spend around 20 minutes answering this question. Okay, so this word evaluate then, what exactly does it mean? It basically means you're saying what the writer has achieved through the different techniques and the words or the structural choices. What has the writer managed to make you think or feel? That's essentially what evaluate means. So let's put that in there. New comment. What does the writer make you, the reader, think or feel? Now the good thing about this question is that essentially they've already told you what the writer makes you think or feel. Let's just underline that. So your evaluation is always going to be about how the writer is making you think or feel sorry for the old woman, Miss Havisham. And that's the same in all these question 4s. They will give you a phrase, they'll give you a statement, and that is what you're leading to. So that is the evaluation kind of already done for you. But what you have to do is rip the text apart really and look for all the different techniques and methods to say how the writer makes you feel sorry for the old woman. They'll do it in lots of different ways. And so you're going to really look at the text in detail and pull out all the things that make you feel sorry for the old woman and explain how they're making you feel sorry. And what exactly are they making you feel sorry, for, in a way. So if we go up to the text, so I've already highlighted a few things that I want to look at. And here's paragraph 4, this is where we start. So the rest of the text we're going to ignore. So paragraph 4 is there. And what's good about this question as well is that you've already answered question 2 where you've looked at the language and the effects that it's had on you as the reader. And you've looked at the structure as well. And so those ideas you can use in this answer. And you just need to move on your explanation of those ideas that you put in question 2 and question 4 and to evaluate them and say more clearly exactly how those things make you feel sorry for the old woman, Miss Havisham. Okay, so question 2 is about this paragraph, but they've actually asked us to start looking at this paragraph here. Paragraph 4 right to the end. Okay, so let's have a look. So this first paragraph, she was dressed in rich materials, satins and lace and silks, all of white. Her shoes were white, and she had a long white veil dependent from her hair, and she had bridal flowers in her hair, but her hair was white. Some bright jewels sparkled on her neck and on her hands, and some other jewels lay sparkling on the table. Dresses, less splendid than the dress she wore, and half-packed trunks were scattered about. She had not quite finished dressing, for she had but one shoe on. The other was on the table near her hand. Her veil was but half arranged. Her watch and chain were not put on, and some lace for her bosom lay with those trinkets, and with her handkerchief and gloves and some flowers and a prayer book all confusedly heaped about the dressing table mirror. Okay, so in terms of how this makes me feel sorry for the woman, I've picked out a couple of things. Firstly, here we've got the idea that you know, her hair was white. You comment. And the bit before is quite important as well, because she's dressed in all these kind of like, there's all these satins and lace and things around her, which suggests that the woman is quite wealthy, or was quite wealthy at one point. But now her hair is white, so we get the impression that the woman is old, which kind of, you know, contrasted with all the things around her, all the rich and wealthy satins and beautiful laces, kind of seems like an odd contrast. So we get the impression that the woman is old and that all her belongings, which show her wealth, means sort of nothing to her now. And so remember, the question is, how does this make us feel sorry for her? So the fact that she's aging will suggest, well, will make the reader feel sorry for her. Okay? But as the details come out in this paragraph here, we get the impression that, you know, things are all scattered about her. Her veil was half arranged. Everything is all confusedly heaped. And so those three things I might sort of put together, and sort of the writer is presenting an image of this woman being dishevelled, which means messy. And it's the idea that she was a woman who was, she had a veil, she had a bridal dress on, but now everything around her is kind of dishevelled and messy, like she's been stopped from getting married, being dishevelled and married, as if she was in the process of getting ready for her wedding day. It stopped all of a sudden, and everything is left messy around her. Okay, so again, this makes the reader feel sad for her, and the fact that her wedding seems to have stopped and it's just been left in this kind of chaos around her. So that would make us feel sort of sorry for her. It might be a good opportunity here to bring up some of these phrases. So the language of evaluation. So if you're talking about how the writer makes us think or feel something, you might want to use some of these phrases. This makes the reader believe in the story because this makes us think of, as we read this part, we feel we are shocked and surprised, or we feel sorry for her. This works because. So just those phrases there, you might want to make a note of those, because I'm not going to write up this answer. You can have a go at doing that with your as part of your own revision. Okay. So if we go back to the extract. Okay, so then we've got paragraph 5. Now this one you've already analysed in question 2. And so remember we talked about how the woman is now withered, and I saw that the dress had been put on the rounded figure of a young woman, and that the figure upon which it now hung loose had shrunk to skin and bone. So that imagery of her being withered and having shrunk to skin and bone also makes us feel sorry for her. And I'm using my subject terminology there, imagery of her decaying, makes us feel sorry. sorry for her. And of course, that imagery is further reinforced when he uses the metaphor to talk of her as a skeleton, which again emphasizes the age, emphasizes the kind of horrific image of her, if you like, as this frightening and monstrous creature now, compared to, you know, the young, rounded figure of a young woman that she was before. And if you've watched part 4 of the question 2 revision video, I talked about the juxtaposition of the idea of a young bride compared to, you know, this image now with sunken eyes, and that now she's a skeleton. And again, it suggests, there is the suggestion of a lot of time passing. So as well as the imagery of her looking quite horrific, that would make us feel sorry for her, you know, something dreadful has happened to her to put her into this position. This suggestion of a lot of time passing in between her marriage, or marriage that didn't go ahead, in between her marriage, a lot of time passing in between her marriage and now, also makes us feel sympathy for the old woman. It is as if she has been stuck in time. Nothing has moved forward for the old woman. She's just stuck in this kind of room with all of this dishevelled mess around her, slowly aging and turning into this horrific image of a skeleton with sunken eyes. Okay, and then as we move on, we come to this one, which we analysed this part as part of the question 3 when we looked at the structure, and we said that we go back to Pip's sort of mind, if you like. We go into his internal thoughts, and he looks around to see the surrounding objects, and he saw that her watch had stopped at 20 minutes to 9, and that the clock in the room had also stopped at 20 minutes to 9. So before I was talking about how she seems to be stuck in time, and this idea is emphasized here, idea of being stuck in time. Stuck in time is emphasized with Pip's description of stopped clocks. So, you know, you can talk about how these are his internal thoughts, and that's a method the writer is using to get across and convey to us as the reader that these clocks have stopped, and then to make us feel as though, emphasize the idea that she is stuck in time. Okay, and you know, in terms of your evaluation, how does this make us feel sorry for her? So, you know, the idea of someone being stuck in time is, you know, upsetting for the reader. It is as if her life has been on hold for years. And that the time of, you know, 20 to 9 is when it all stopped. Is when it all stopped. You know, and pointing that out and making that a significant thing to notice for Pip. You know, the writer is kind of really making us feel sorry for her, that this particular time was, you know, catastrophic for her. Something ended at this particular moment. And so that evokes that sense of sympathy. That's a good phrase. Evokes a sense of sympathy in the reader for the old woman. Okay.